Meet Tim Dove. He's a middle school social studies teacher in the Columbus suburb of Worthington, and he likes everything about his job.
I like the curriculum. I like the fact it changes. I like the fact that every year is different. It's not the same stuff. So it keeps you current, it keeps you moving, it keeps you thinking, it keeps it fresh. So I'm having a ball.
Tim's zest for teaching comes not only from doing what he gets to do every day, but where he gets to do it. Phoenix Middle School. 4 years ago, Tim and a team of teachers were given a unique opportunity to create a learning environment that would be their ideal school. Phoenix is the result.
There was a core group of about 6 to 10 of us, depending on the day, that really looked at what do we know is good for kids, what do we know is good for learning, what do we know is not helpful. Sometimes it's equally important to know that. And so Phoenix was developed out of a long history of people who have been around the block.
Phoenix differs from traditional middle schools in a number of ways. A major one is a longer school day. Students arrive at 7:15 in the morning. They don't go home until 5. The extra hours allow students and teachers the luxury of time to avoid rushing through important topics and concepts, to allow for more questions and more answers, and most importantly, to establish classroom connections that benefit everyone.
We feel like we're able to spend a lot of time with kids here, informally and formally, and we think that forming those relationships is really important to the atmosphere that's here. It supports kids, it gives them confidence, and it helps them move on from here to be confident in their further educational endeavors.
You know, we try to maximize the time with the kids to get to know them better. And when you get to know the kid better, you can tailor your curriculum so that kid can learn better.
The curriculum is another factor that differentiates Phoenix from other middle schools. In addition to Tim Dove's unique take on social studies, Beth Cullinan teaches global cultures. Bob Estes offers students a look at philosophy through critical thinking. And while the students are gaining knowledge about the world and their place in it, they aren't the only ones in the classroom who are learning. The teachers are teaching each other as well.
I'm learning from Tim. Tim teaches, I've told him, like a house on fire. He is so high energy. So when I'm teaching with someone and my colleagues watching me teach, it's really great to be able to turn to someone I respect and say, okay, so how do you think that worked? What would you do next time that's different?
So there really is a very strong ownership of what are we doing, and if something doesn't make sense, we stop doing it and start doing something that makes more sense. So we're always in conversation about what that means.
To ensure that their students succeed, Tim and his colleagues have one simple goal: to be effective teachers. And while the goal is simple, teaching is complicated. Being an effective teacher even more so. The reason? The best teaching combines two opposite disciplines, art and science. It's difficult to find a balance between the two. Phoenix has shown it can be done successfully.
Part of the science of teaching would be the things that are handed to you as an expectation of your job. So the graded course of study from my school district would be part of the science of teaching, I guess, along with the state standards and all the other layers of testing and those kinds of things. The art of teaching would more have to do with how do you put all that together, how do you give it relevance, how do you make sure kids are connecting to what's going on, and actually understand what they're doing. And that's not a lockstep procedure.
The art part of it is the relationship you develop with other people. So in teaching, the relationship with the person you're teaching trumps everything. So that's the main thing we try to build here, is the relationship with kids. The science of it, in my opinion, is learning how to deliver your curriculum in a way that people's brains can absorb it. So that's the science part of it. So when you put those two things together, that, in my opinion, that's what makes a good teacher, a person that can do that.
When you look closely at Phoenix, you see an excellent example of effective teaching. Is Phoenix a model, the model for others to follow? In education, as in many other fields, one size rarely fits all.
There really isn't a single best way to teach, a single best curriculum or a single best classroom environment. That we need to know quality. We need to be able to define quality. We need to know it when we see it. But we also need to make room for differences, different high-quality models of teaching.
Rebecca Cantor identifies 4 critical areas essential to effective teaching: the knowledge the teacher has about the subject they teach, the ability to understand the community in which they are teaching, relating to and understanding the individual student, and what are called high-leverage skills.
There are particular skills that probably do cross communities and schools everywhere, and we're trying to understand what they are. Organizational skills, time management skills, group management skills. We need to be able to cull those out. So the science of teaching, I think, is about the research base that helps us look at those skills.
Cantor acknowledges that researching the art of effective teaching poses a greater challenge than exploring the science part of the equation.
It's hard to measure because a really brilliant teacher, a really effective teacher, makes it look effortless, makes it look easy. So we need to spend prolonged amount of time in Tim Dove's classroom, day after day after day, watching the decisions he makes, listening to the language he uses with his students, the way he reacts and responds on a true moment-by-moment, face-to-face basis, and you'll see patterns. It's not random. It's not chance.
A big part of your job as an artist in teaching is figuring out why students came up with the answers they came up with. Even though it may be off target in terms of the direction you're trying to go as a teacher, there's a strong logic as to why they did what they did, or said what they said, or wrote what they wrote. And a big part of my job as an artist in teaching is to figure out how'd they come up with that, so that you can readjust it and say, okay, so if we turn this a little bit like this and relook at it, and then you get the which is the holy grail of teaching.
Can college students be taught how to become effective teachers? Tim Dove thinks so. He teaches at both Ohio State and Capital and focuses on how education majors enter their chosen field. And while he uses Phoenix as a model, the process he advocates can apply to any school system.
People say, well, if you're learning about how to teach at Phoenix, again, how are you going to do in a traditional piece? You're going to do fine, because here it really is the issue of integration, talking with your colleagues. One of the biggest understandings in the research as to why people leave the profession is isolationism. You know, I'm a new teacher, I'm put in a classroom, I'm given a textbook, I'm given the graded course of study, and I don't get to talk to colleagues other than in a lunchroom, which is usually not the best situation in certain schools, about understanding what's going on in a school. You're not getting into the depth of conversation about curriculum or how kids are learning. And so this is the kind of culture that we're trying to show pre-service teachers. This is a healthy way to go.
Teachers like Tim and his fellow teachers know the value of preparing for a career in the classroom, and their mentorship, plus the methods used at Phoenix, make for a more in-depth student teaching experience. It's the type of preparation Rebecca Cantor sees as critical to creating 21st century teachers.
Have students in the classroom from the beginning of their training program. And they take on progressively more complex roles, more responsibility, and culminate with a student teaching experience where they're really responsible for the curriculum in the classroom for a period of time.
When local schools and universities partner to create more meaningful and comprehensive teaching programs, the result will be teachers who understand the art and the science of teaching and how to apply both.
Drop in, sink and swim hasn't worked, doesn't work, won't work. And having those collegial relationships between universities and local schools is a critical piece. They got to look at each other as colleagues, not I'm telling you how to do this. It's how do we work together as educators to make this a better situation.
For Tim Dove, his better situation is Phoenix Middle School, helping students find their voices and their direction in life. He and his colleagues are true practitioners of the art and the science of effective teaching.
It's a magical place because this is really a place where we look at what's important, not only about what we're learning, but the culture of our learning, and to be reflective about how are we learning as individuals and as a group, and then changing things, which is why the term Phoenix, changing things based on who we're dealing with at the moment, not necessarily what we did last year or 2 years ago, but continually evaluating what's working and not working here.